Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Hello, my gorgeous friends. Back by popular demand, I am offering you another Q&A episode, and we are covering some really juicy topics today. We are covering everything from what to do when you are the partner that makes more money and how to handle that emotionally when you start making more money than your spouse. And maybe sometimes there's resentment around that. There's some heaviness that comes up around it. And I'm going to talk you through how to manage that. We're also going to discuss what to do when your once successful offer just stops working as well and what to do about it. We're going to talk about how to stop dimming your light and stop being afraid of being too much for people or making people feel uncomfortable, and how to show up marketing and online as your true self. And we cover much more than that, but these are just a few of the topics that I dive deep into on today's episode. Now, here's what's really fun about this. This was done live last month, and I have another Q&A live call coming up called Ask Jamie Anything, where you can bring me your specific questions that I will answer live on the call. And you can join me, you can ask questions live, you can submit them in advance, and I will send out the replay of this next episode. So if you've been listening to the podcast and there's something coming up for you that you're curious about or want my perspective on, or let's say there's something you feel kind of blocked or stuck around and you want my support working through it, you can ask me on this call, and it's totally free. You just have to get registered for it. So make sure to go to hello.jamieberman.com/ask Jamie anything. And we will link it up in the show notes so you don't have to memorize that. But make sure to get registered because these calls are so much fun. They're value packed, and I'm doing them monthly. Not always monthly, but I'm trying to keep them pretty consistent. So we have one coming up for you. And when you get registered, you will see when that one is. So without further ado, here is the Q&A call. So for those of you who are new to me, welcome in. Hello, I am Jamie Berman. I am your money and manifestation coach. I am a certified master coach. I have a background in spiritual psychology, and I happen to love all things business. And I study business. I study money. I love all of that goodness. And I have been coaching for 9 years, and I have been coaching on money and business and manifestation for the past, I would say 5-6 years. Sometimes I get tripped up, but like, when did that shift happen? I think 6 years. So, I've coached thousands of clients at this point, and I love it. It is my favorite thing ever. So I am here just to support you. These calls are to help you just dive deeper, to clarify any areas that you feel sticky around, or if you're like, hey, I heard something on your podcast, can you dive a little bit deeper? I don't understand this, or how can I apply this in my context? You can ask questions on it. Also, if you're just tripped up, like you feel blocked around money or something like that, type it in. I will help you get through it. So that's what these calls are here for. They're just a super fun community connection call. All right. Okay. So the first question came in from Anonymous. It says, can you help me manage my mindset around making significantly more money than my husband? It's not that I am upset that I make more, but I think more so that I feel if he made more, we would have an easier life. Like he doesn't make enough, and that makes it harder on the whole family. He has a stable corporate job with great work-life balance and isn't lazy, just underpaid. And he does bring in health benefits, which helps since I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want to feel resentment, but how do I manage this? When we are in an expensive part of our lives with kids in college, house that needs some repairs, etc., paying for kids' sports, etc., with his salary, and it feels like it's all on me. P.S. He has tried to look for another job, but at 60 years old, he tells me it just isn't happening. I think he's 50% right and 50% not trying that hard. Any thoughts, helps, or reframe? Okay, 100%. So the reason you are feeling resentment is not because you make more than him, right? That's just a circumstance. That's a fact. That's a situation. In fact, typically in most relationships, in most partnerships, one person makes more than the other. It's very rare that both make the same amount of money. Now, with that, not every couple, not every person who's making more money feels the emotion of resentment, right? Why is that? It's because of the way that they think about it. And you're already onto it, Anonymous. You already said, I have a feeling I just need a shift in perspective here, right? You said, I want to manage my mindset around it. So you have so much awareness here. And I just want to acknowledge you for noticing that, because that really is the key. And the truth is, he could go out and get another job, but the truth is, you'd probably still be making more, right? And what if he just got a job that made a little bit more, right? Like you could still have these same thoughts and you could still hold resentment regardless. So I'm going to give you two thoughts that I noticed that seem to be very sticky here and that are thoughts that would create resentment. Number one is, if he made more, we would have an easier life. I want you to recognize that that is a thought your brain is telling you. And while you could say, it's true, Jamie, it's true. Here's the thing. Okay, that might be true, but thinking that thought is creating a harder life for you. It's making you feel resentful. It's making you feel bad about your situation. It's making you probably resent him. This thought, and I want you to really notice, this is not just a fact. It is a thought that your brain is offering you. If he made more, we would have an easier life. So I am in the same situation right now in this season of my life. I make more money than my husband does, significantly more. And I know if I kept thinking this thought, I would feel a lot of resentment too. And it would be easy for me to think this thought. It would be easy for me to think if he made more, life would be easier. But what is the point of thinking that when he doesn't make more, right? That is like fighting reality. That is fighting where you're at. And as the beautiful Byron Katie says, when you fight reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So you will constantly feel icky around this. You will constantly feel resentment if you keep holding this thought, if you keep letting your brain think, if he made more, our life would be easier. And the truth is, like, he could lose his job and he could make nothing. And in that case, you'd be like, I wish he had his job back. It was so much easier whenever he had his job. And when the medical stuff was all like the insurance was covered, right? You'd be missing that. So that's another perspective. Sometimes I like to think, well, if he lost his job, then what would you think? You'd probably be missing where you're at now. You'd probably be so grateful for where you're at now. So notice that there's also a world in which you could be grateful. You could think he could be making nothing. He could, not be covering insurance. He could be in massive debt. So you would be so grateful for the position you're in now if that were the case. So this thought, if he made more, we would have an easier life. That's what's creating resentment. And you can, what I love to call is from Richard Dots, drop the coin. Drop that thought. Let go of it. You don't have to tell that story anymore. Because what you're doing is you're fighting reality. The other thought is he doesn't make enough, and that makes it harder for the whole family. Oh my gosh, that thought right there, it's a not enough thought, right? And it's just creating resentment. It's creating scarcity. So what I would consider is bigger picture. Why are you making this a problem? Do you have scarcity about the future? Do you have fear about the future? Are you feeling like it's all on you? Does it feel heavy? Because that's stuff that you can also clean up. But these thoughts about your husband are just thoughts that are kind of fighting reality. If he made more, life would be easier. It's like, there's a million things that we could think. Yeah, if this happened, life would be easier. If this happened, life would be easier, right? It's like there's a million things we could think of like that. But when we think it, we feel terrible. So we could just not think that thought. And we could think this is what is. And what are we going to do with it? How can we work as a team together with this situation? With this is how much we make together. And these are our expenses. What can we do with that? Do we want to cut our expenses a little bit? Right? Do we want to, maybe you said you got kids' college coming up, sports and things like that. Do you want to kind of budget for that? Like, what is it that's going to create actual relief for you? If this is what is for right now in this situation, this is what you're bringing in as a team, then what? What can you do together as a team to create relief without him going to get another job? And the truth is, when you clean this up and you actually start creating relief within yourself and you let go of this like need for him to make more, watch what will happen when you let go of attachment to that and you become to peace with this is what y'all are making. Watch that pie grow. He may end up going to get another job when you let go of him needing to, right? Or you may just start making a lot more money, right? It might start growing, but it's this attachment to needing it, and life will be so much easier once. That creates a lot of attachment. It creates a lot of scarcity. So I'm going to recommend a book for you that I think you're going to like. It is by Richard Dotz. It's called Dissolve the Problem. You will read it in 2 days. Book. It's fantastic. So I would recommend reading that book. And this is the problem I would dissolve. And I only say that because I know this has been something that's been ongoing for you. And it's all about how do we let go of these things that we tend to just circulate on and worry about. How do we dissolve the problem there? So I will recommend that book as well. But I really would question, like, if it's worth it to keep thinking these thoughts. If he made more, we would have life easier. And lean into this is what is. This is what we make, period. This is what we make, period. Like, let's not fight reality. This is what we make right now, period, as a couple. So that's my suggestion for you. Okay, Dorothy says, I feel really blocked with money coming through in a specific offer that I have. I used to have 25 people per quarter, but this year I'm halfway through the year and have only had 8 people sign up. I love this offer and I know it's really good, but for some reason it's blocked. What do I need to unblock it so that I have people signing up for that offer again? Okay. So first thing is I wouldn't hold on to the thought it's blocked. That's actually not true. I know it seems like it might be true because you're like, well, I had 25 coming through before and now I have 8. It's not blocked. If you have people coming through, it's not blocked, right? Something is working. People are coming in. And the more that you can see where it is working, that's going to be so helpful because then you can amplify what is working. So look at where those people did come in through and try to amplify that. Try to understand those people. Oh, I wonder why they signed up, and try to understand that context of like, it's working. There are people signing up. Sure, there's not as more as there used to be. But then it's like, well, if I want to get back to what it used to be, it's just about times change, things pivot, things shift. So sometimes what worked last year or what worked the year before, what worked 3 years ago is not going to work now. Sometimes the messaging that worked 3 years ago is not going to work now. And I'm going through that right now myself, actually, because I've had a little dip in, like, it's similar, not the same, but I've had a dip in that what was, working previous years is not working as well. So we are going through that as a team and I'm just exploring it. I'm not telling myself I'm blocked. I'm telling myself it's still working, but how can I refine this? What's new? What's changed? What's evolved? What is it that people are looking for now? And that's why it could be helpful. Like, even though you love this offer, It's about what do your audience want? What does your audience need? What does your audience love right now? So you could do a little bit of market research and try to understand your audience now. See what it is that they are needing or wanting and what might be different. It might be different in the way that you talk about it, right? It might be different in the way that you sell it, or it might be different in the way that you package it even. Maybe there's something that's going to work better for 2025 than it was for 2024. So I think it's really important that we don't beat ourselves up, because it's like markets change sometimes, not markets change sometimes, markets change and evolve. And so oftentimes it's just seasons. And that's why, right? Like, oh, there's a season where this worked really well and it doesn't work as well. Like you think about Blockbuster back in the day, right? It was booming. It was like we were all going getting our DVDs and our movies every single weekend. And then Blockbuster did not question the time. They didn't say, oh, look, market's shifting. Wow, this Netflix thing, people are like ordering DVDs to their house and they're going to this Redbox thing and people don't really want to go in and look for it. They were more like, we love this offer. It works really well. I love it. It's worked for many years. And guess what? Because they weren't willing to look at the market and say, oh, markets change. There's new technology. There's new wants. There's new desires. There's a new way. It's not that people don't still want to watch movies. It's just the way in which they receive them is shifting. And think about it. If Blockbuster had done market research and said, where is the market now? What do they want? How do they want things delivered? And really get curious, they could have easily shifted and become what Netflix is now. They could have easily shifted and been what Amazon Prime has done, but they weren't willing to change their model. They weren't willing. They were so stuck on, I want to have an in-person place and I love my offer and I love the way it's been, that they didn't look outside of it and say, wait, what's shifted? And they could have evolved and grown and everything. So I think it's important to remember that what people want from your offer is still there. That still exists, but things shift, right? So that's where you just like, that's where entrepreneurship is a creative process, right? We're always having to evolve with it, or it's just not going to grow. So I would say, number one, I would not tell yourself it's blocked. That's not the thought that I would use, because it's not true. There's still people coming through. There's still a desire for it, but I think you're just in a phase where you want to explore the market a little bit more, explore what your people want, ask questions, get on the phone with potential clients. Like, start doing some market research, send emails, send surveys, see what people are looking for now so that you can keep up to date with what people want, or maybe there's a different way it's going to be delivered. So that's what I would recommend, and not to make this about you, not to beat yourself up, not to blame your money mindset on this, right? Because the only thing in terms of money mindset is just look at what you're making this mean, right? That you've had like a dip in sales, like, or that you have 8 people coming through, like, what are you making that mean in terms of your future, right? You could just make it mean, oh, maybe something shifted and let me figure this out and I'm going to create a lot of abundance. So it's kind of that now what mentality of like, what do you want to think is possible from here? You don't have to make it mean it's all gone. It's like you don't have to make it mean something negative, basically. So that's where you can really manage your mind around this. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Christy says, I'm noticing that I've been at an income plateau of 100 to 150K for the last 6 years, despite wanting and desiring to grow. If anything, my revenue has dipped slightly in the past 2 years. I show up, I market, I do all the things, but something isn't lining up. I'm not sure what to do differently. Okay, Christy. So I will tackle this in 2 different ways, or answer this in 2 different ways. So number one, just some things to reflect on and look at. Whenever it comes to an energetic set point around money, which that's what I'm calling it, right? Your set point is around 100,000 to 150,000 for 6 years, right? So in some ways, beautiful thing, like, you know how to make money, you know how to make money in business. That is freaking awesome. And if you want your set point to go up, and you want to make 300,000 or 500,000, the opportunity is, number one, I would look at if there's anything about having more money or making more money in business that you feel slightly scared of, or that there's a part of you that says, ooh, that's going to be kind of heavy. Or if there's any part of you that doesn't identify as a wealthy CEO who brings in big money, right? Like, is your identity and your self-concept lined up with that, right? So you want to explore that, because sometimes it can be, oh, I just don't see myself as that person. Yeah, that's not how I see myself. I don't believe that that is possible for me. And that's a belief problem. And what's beautiful about that is we can shift that, because we decide what we believe. We get to choose that. So you can choose a new self concept. I do this work in the money manifestation movement with my clients, where we literally give our self concept and our identity a promotion. So that might be what this is about, is promoting how you see yourself. See yourself as capable of making, I don't know what you want to make, $500,000, $300,000, breaking through this income plateau. So it might be an identity thing. You also might want to clean up any fears that you have about making more money. This one's really big. And a lot of times it's, what are my family going to think? What, are people going to take advantage of me if I have more? A lot of times it's, is it going to be, a lot to handle? Is it going to be more than I can handle? Sometimes in business, it's even when we associate hard work with money, or we have to deliver more, we think, oh my God, if I was making that much, I'd have to give so much more of me. And like, I don't want to do that. So we have to clean up any of those fears so that you feel super safe, super comfortable, super matched with making, let's say, $500,000, right? Or whatever that number is that you want to break through. So that work as well. So I'm just giving you some ideas so that you can kind of tap in and say, oh yeah, that kind of resonates. I think that's where I want to go. Third thing that you could think about is, what did it take for you to go from 0 to 100K in your business? What was that journey like? Because right there is a quantum leap. You created something out of nothing, right? You had 100K growth. So I want you to think about that again. In order to have another 100K growth, what might you want to embody that you did when you went from 0 to 100? Because I think sometimes when we're in the beginning phases, we're willing to get uncomfortable. We're willing to put ourselves out there. We're willing to, do things that we've never done before and lean into belief and go for things, right? But then we hit a certain number and we kind of are more like in a comfort zone around it. And we don't stretch ourselves like we did in the beginning. And I'm speaking from experience, because this is something that a lesson that I'm leaning into, of like, oh, if I want to grow from here, I have to embody some of those qualities. I have to do more scary things. I have to stretch myself if I want to have a quantum leap again. So this is another thing to think about, is in what ways have you just been kind of staying in maybe a comfort zone and not stretched yourself, not leaned into the unknown, not like really gone for things that you had on the other side of it was an unknown, but you were taking a leap of faith. Because I think that is the key to manifesting, is you have to be willing to utilize courage and lean into doing the scary thing. And sometimes whenever we are embodying the identity of, let's say a 500K CEO, it's going to look different than the 100K CEO. And you're going to have to learn new things. You are going to have to be in different rooms where you're surrounded by people who are doing that. So you have to trust your intuition. But what I would say is, what is your 500K self doing that you're not doing now? Like, get to know that future version of you really well. And you have to be willing to do some kind of scary things to get, and I don't mean scary. I mean, you just have to lean into courage. We have to get out of our comfort zone to get there. So that's another thing to think about is, what were some of the qualities that you embodied when you went from 0 to 100K? And how can you bring some of those qualities into going from 150K up to 300, 500. So just some things to think about. Okay, Patricia says, in the last 2 weeks, I went from having clients to zero clients. Could that be connected to my manifestation? The last month, I manifested more aligned clients, and I will launch a product which will attract more aligned clients. Do you have any experience with a similar situation? And could you give me any advice? Many thanks in advance. Well, yeah, I mean, month to month, right? Like, I will just share personally. Some months I get, I have gotten zero clients, and then other months I've gotten many clients. So I think that's kind of the ebbs and flows of business. I wouldn't make that a problem, or I wouldn't blame yourself for that. But you could look and you could say, oh, was there anything different the months that I got clients versus the months that I didn't? Was there anything different in the way that I was thinking and my enthusiasm for it and what I was putting out in the world and what the offers that I was making? Is anything different? If it's not different, then I would just believe that there are more coming, right? That's as simple as it is, because you could have several clients come at once next month, and then there you are, an overflow having clients again. It also sounds like you're creating a new offer that's going to attract more clients. So my hunch is a lot of times when we're in that creation mode of creating a new offer, we're putting our energy into that, right? Into creating the new offer and thinking about that, and not putting as much energy into selling in that moment. So it might have been that you were just redirecting your energy and thinking about this new offer that's about to launch, and you will be about to get new clients. So I wouldn't make it a problem month to month. That's my thought. If you want to create consistent clients every single month, that is 100% a manifestation that you can decide you want to create. And with that, you just have to think, how does the person who gets clients every month think consistently? Like, what is their belief? How do they feel? What are some of the systems that you will set up so that clients can come in every single month and that it's consistent, right? So you're probably going to want to think evergreen. You're probably going to want to think ideas where clients can always come in. There's always an offer available, and you're always reaching new people and letting them know that you have an offer for them. That's got to stay consistent. And if you decide that's not the way you want to go, you could just do the launch model. And when you are launching something, an inflow of clients comes in, and then maybe you have a month where it's a little slower, and then you launch again and an inflow of clients come in, and not make that a problem, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts for you, but you can decide how you want to do it and how you want to set it up. And it's going to be both a mindset thing, an energy that you're holding, and a system that you've set up. Okay. Elena says, my natural energy is to be warm and enthusiastic, but I also find myself chameleoning. I love it. Chameleoning around people I feel this would be too much for. So I kind of dim down, but I feel like this is hurting my business. I'd like to step into just shining bright and being a lot of big enthusiastic energy, even if it's too much for some people or triggering in some way. Thanks. Okay. Great question. And that is the thing, is the first thing that I would look at is, you can intentionally decide on purpose from your conscious brain what you want to think if somebody is triggered around your energy. So that's first. Maybe your unconscious brain would say, oh, I see someone's triggered, or they say something about my enthusiasm. They're mentioning it. My unconscious brain says, oh, tone it down. Let's not make anyone uncomfortable. Let's dim our light, right? That's where your brain goes unintentionally. But if you want to change the pattern, you're going to have to decide on purpose, what do you want to think, feel, and do in the moment you notice someone's triggered, right? Maybe you come in with enthusiasm and someone says, geez, tone it down a little. That's too much. Oh my God. Or like you notice that they're uncomfortable around you, whatever it is, however you notice that. You have to decide on purpose. What is your thought going to be in that moment that you're going to practice? And they can have their own feelings. They can have their own response. This is who I am. And if they don't like it, they can get over it. They don't have to come around me. I'm not going to dim my light for other people. If they're uncomfortable, that's their stuff. They're completely projecting onto me. And I am not going to dim my light because of it. And you have to just have compassion for them that they're triggered and keep shining your light. So what I would recommend doing is start visualizing this ahead of time, because sometimes in the moment it's hard to do and we can go into unconscious patterns of just automatically dimming, like, oh, someone's triggered, or I'm going to dim ahead of time because they might get triggered. And so we might do that unintentionally because that's what we've practiced for so long. So what I would recommend doing, Elena, is practicing in your mind first. Do a visualization or write it out in a journal if you're not good at visualizing, of who you want to be in those situations, right? Someone who maybe you would think thinks that you're too much is in the room. And you want to practice seeing yourself being your most authentic self and feeling safe and feeling comfortable. I want you to do visualizations around this first, of pairing them being triggered or them thinking you're too much with you not dimming. So you might have to think, I'm sorry they feel that way. They are definitely projecting. This is not about me. I am not dimming my light over this, right? So that's number one, is start seeing that, start visualizing it, because here's the thing, the brain doesn't know the difference between something that is real and something that is imagined. So when we do this mental rehearsal first, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to do that and practice it in real life, in person. So that's why I'm giving you the advice of visualizing it first, because that's going to start reprogramming your brain and the neural networks in your brain to say, wait, this is safe. You're going to start feeling it as safe, seeing it as safe. So that's number one. Number two, I would create a why. Why do you no longer want to dim, right? Like really know why it's important that you don't dim anymore, and hold that frequency of why you want to be your authentic self. And the other thing I want to say is let it be a little wobbly. This isn't going to go from feeling totally uncomfortable to feeling comfortable overnight. I would say let it be a practice and a process of not dimming yourself and showing up authentically and enthusiastically in front of the people in front of you. So let it be a practice and start small and just do it as like, what if I gave myself a year to get comfortable at this? What if I, just like toddlers learning to walk, we're not like, oh my God, you're not running yet when they just took their first step. It's like, no, they get up, they take a step, they fall, they get up, they fall. But eventually after a year, they're walking and running around like a little crazy toddler, right? So think of it the same way for you. Let this be a practice for you. And also another thing that I find really helpful that I just want to mention for everyone, if you are someone who has, a business and you have a presence, a marketing presence, whether that is online or you have a storefront, right? Or anything, think of it like this. If you're, let's say, showing up to social, or you are podcasting, or you're showing up on a call like this, or you are on TikTok, whatever it is, right? I want you to think of it as a storefront. And I want you to think of it as when you go in there and you go to create content, you're creating it for your customers. So even if you had a store, let's say that you had a physical store and you were selling beautiful scented candles that were like gorgeous, like amazing, luxurious scented candles. You are going to know those candles are not for everyone. They're luxurious, they're beautiful. Some people do not value that, but there's some people who are going to absolutely love it. If you have a storefront, you are trying to attract the people who are going to love it. You're not thinking, oh my God, I have to be, everything for everyone. You're just trying to attract the people who would want that. We have to think of our virtual marketing spaces like a storefront. So if you're getting on, let's just use Instagram as an example. I want you to get on there and think you're walking into your store that you are selling beautiful things from. You are selling whatever it is that you sell, and you're not for everyone. You do not need everyone to like your store, to like your space. You're not for everyone. So always think about this is for everyone. Like anytime you are getting into your digital marketing space, you are walking into your storefront and you are attracting the people that want what you are selling, that want what you are offering. And sometimes there's going to be people walking by, which will be, people who see it and maybe they'll comment something dumb. but they're not your people. That's not who you're trying to attract. So important to also remember you're not trying to attract your family members into your storefront if that's not who you are selling to, right? It doesn't matter what their thoughts are about your store, which is AKA your marketing space. And I actually learned that from one of my coaches, Bev Aaron. She would always say, think of it like your storefront, like you show up to work in this storefront and you are attracting the people who want what you have to offer. And for some reason, thinking of it in that physical way was so helpful for me because I'm like, oh yeah, my parents or whoever, not even, whether it's parents or friends or people from high school, I'm like, yeah, they don't want what's in my store. And like, that's okay. I'm going to only think about the people who would want what's in my store, right? So like be too much in your store because that's the people who want it. So anyways, that's just like a little side note that might be helpful. We have one last written in question from Camille. It says, Jamie, hi, your podcast on letting go of goals really resonated with me. I've been trying to build a coaching business for over 3 years, but it no longer feels aligned. I've been pushing myself to prove my investment in training and coaching was worth it, but it's draining. I don't want to give up on the vision of being a holistic wellness coach or possibly a self-help author, but I need to release the pressure I've been putting on myself. At the same time, I'm finding more success and recognition in the corporate world, though it still feels limiting in terms of freedom and earning potential. I dream of working from home, earning more, and feeling spaciousness, but I realize even having a business doesn't guarantee that. I want to let go of self-blame and avoid a victim mindset, but also want to genuinely appreciate where I'm at and find a way to make it work without forcing fake positivity. I'd love your perspective and energy on how to shift this. Thank you for being such an inspiring presence. Oh, Camille, so sweet. Okay, totally. 100%. Love this question. So I would say if the reason, okay, I learned this from Oprah, who learned it from Gary Zukav, who I don't know. I think all right, like this power of intention. I've also learned it from Wayne Dyer. The intention that is behind something and that is behind our why is either going to be in alignment with our soul and it's going to allow things to flow with ease and grace and flow. And not always ease and grace. There will still be obstacles, but it is going to feel like we are in the right direction. We are following our North Star. Or if our intention is not in alignment with our soul, it's in alignment with more of our personality or our ego, it is going to feel like an uphill battle. It is going to feel like we are, as Abraham Hicks would say, going upstream, right? We're like trying to canoe upstream. So this is the thing. If the intention behind creating your coaching business is I am pushing myself to prove my investment in training and coaching was worth it, that is 100% not a soul calling. That is not a soul why. That right there is ego. That is the personality that's trying to hijack the experience and say, I need to prove it was worth it because otherwise I'm going to beat myself up. That energy behind it, again, you said it creates pressure. It's heaviness. It's been putting a lot on yourself. And that is probably the reason it is not moving, right? So what I would recommend is don't give up the goal altogether. If you feel a calling to be in the wellness space, to be a coach, to be a self-help author, don't give up on it. You could decide, and it doesn't even mean that you have to have this heavy ambition towards it. It doesn't even mean that you have to be going for it now. But what I'm saying is just put it into your vortex, put it into your grid, as Abraham Hicks would say. I don't know why I'm using all these Abraham Hicks terms. Put it into your vision. Decide that is something you want in this lifetime and put it on your vision board. But it doesn't mean you have to actively pursue it because you want the why behind going for that to be potent, to be intentional, to feel aligned with your soul calling, right? And thinking I need to prove my investment was worth it is not in alignment with your soul, right? It feels just icky. It feels hard. It feels not good at all, right? And it actually is coming from a place of scarcity. So what I would recommend doing is number one, I know you said you don't want to involve any toxic positivity, and I hear you. But what I would do is I would say, why was I called to invest in this at this time? Back whenever I invested in whether it was coach certification or yoga training, whatever it was, why did I invest in that? Why was I called? What gifts were I given, even if it was different from what I thought? Because a lot of times I think we have attachment to, oh, this was supposed to lead to this because that was the vision that I had. But really, we were drawn to, let's say, coach certification or yoga certification because of something completely different that was part of our soul's mission, right? And maybe you will, of course, like you said, eventually create a book or a wellness company, but it sounds like it's a not right now thing because the energy behind it now is pressure and it's proving in pressure. And that intention just won't, it's not in alignment with your soul. So it's not going to flow. So, anyways, I would look into why were you maybe called, even though you got something different than you thought, right? So, I'm going to give you an example of this. I went to school for fashion and retail merchandising and marketing. And I spent a lot of money on it. I took out a lot of student loans. And I did school. I got through all the 4 years. I graduated and I decided that was not what I wanted to do with my life because as I got into it, I'm like, this is not in alignment with my purpose. This isn't what I actually like. And I realized I wanted to do makeup at that time. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I spent all this money and I'm not even doing anything with it. But here in hindsight is what I realized. I was always supposed to go to that college because that college is where I met my ex-boyfriend. And originally, I had wanted to move to New York previously before I met him. But he said, hey, let's move to LA together. This was after we graduated. So I met my ex-boyfriend at that school. We graduated. We moved out to LA. He got an internship. I worked retail. And so much of my life was created in LA. So much. It's like I ended up breaking up with him like right away, like right when we moved out here. But then I met my husband who I'm like, oh my God, we were always supposed to meet. And it's so crazy because if I never went to college for that in Missouri, which had absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now and that I paid back loans for years on, I would have never met my husband. Like wild, 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 right? So it's so weird how I'm like, God, I would pay that again a million times, even though with that degree, I thought I'd get a degree and I'd work in fashion and I'd work in, whatever, like marketing. I never did that. But I'm so glad that I invested in that and I followed the flow and I followed my energy and I followed my gut where I thought I was supposed to go to school there. And that's where I got a scholarship for swimming and all of this stuff. And I pursued that, but it was never to get a job in fashion. It was always to end up getting me out to LA to meet my now husband and have the life that we have together. I'm doing absolutely nothing that I learned in college, but I'm not beating myself for investing in it because I know that was always part of my story. It was always part of this whole unfoldment of my life. So I say that to say that's how I want you to maybe think about investing in maybe a coach certification or your business. Like, what was that supposed to give you? Where was that supposed to lead you that may end up being even better than what you initially thought it would be? And it's not over, right? So you don't know that in the future, all this isn't going to miraculously come together somehow. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, it makes sense why I now have a coach certification and I invested in my business because now I understand business. And now I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I will tell you what, everything that we learn is for a purpose and it will unfold. It's not always a direct line of how we envisioned it would. So that's why I'm saying maybe you can forgive yourself for buying into the misbelief that investing in this thing would lead to the growth of your business right away. And you can say, I forgive myself for buying into the misbelief that that's how it should have been, because the truth is, this is actually what is, and it is going to be even better. it's going to be even better. And I just follow the path of least resistance. I follow the flow of my energy and I trust life. The other thing that I think is important to clean up is this part of you that thinks that life would be better as an entrepreneur. Okay. Because life is life and we get to create our life experience no matter what. So the victim mentality that you had mentioned wanting to get out of is I'm a victim to this job. And that is what I want to encourage you to challenge because the truth is you can create the income that you want. What if you can create the income that you want? What if you can create a super abundant income in corporate? Like I had a client who actually stayed in her corporate job and she ended up manifesting like because she stayed there, something happened and she is going to be given a payout of like a couple $1 million at the end of it or in a couple years because she stayed in it. And she's like, oh my God, that's like so much more than I probably would have made in my business. And she felt called to stick with that job. And she's getting this massive payout. And so you just don't know. Be careful not to say, I can't make as much money in a corporate job as I can in business, especially if that is where your energy is. Like, I would just challenge that belief. It's like, what if I can make as much money as I want to wherever I am? What if it's not the job that's dictating that? And so that's one thing that I would question. And then also this part of you that wants spaciousness. Spaciousness is something that you create. Our job doesn't create it for us. And we have a lot of entrepreneurs that I assure you would say, oh my God, I want spaciousness as an entrepreneur. It's a lot, right? And that's because spaciousness is something that we create with our mindset, with our energy, and with intention. We carve out spaciousness in our life and we create it. It is not our job or it's not being an entrepreneur that creates spaciousness. So just remember that. And I think it's so important that we don't put jobs on pedestals. I see a lot of people putting entrepreneurship on a pedestal like, oh, it's more worthy to make money through a business, or it's more worthy to make money through entrepreneurship. And I would just question that. I think all sources of creating money, as long as they're like in integrity, are worthy. Like if it's coming in with ease in one area, like that is just as worthy as if you worked hard for it or if you did it through your business. That's one way to actually, for all y'all, to create a lot more abundance is stop judging where the money is coming through, right? If there is an area of your life that you can create money with more ease, open up to it. It's not less worthy because you're working less for it or because it's coming with more ease. There's no like hierarchy here. And I think that's huge. So I would just question that it's better from a business or I'm more worthy if it's my own business. If there's any of that that you need to clean up, because I'm just about y'all creating abundance, using your gifts, following the flow of life, trusting your instincts, coming into alignment with your soul calling. And what also you could do, Camille, is say, like, what is it that I'm here to do on this planet? You'll probably want to sit with that question or ask yourself, like, what is it that I, Camille, feel called to do in this lifetime? And how can I bring that intention into what I'm doing now? Because that's going to make it a lot more, a lot richer and a lot more just putting that intention into it is going to make it a better, more fulfilling experience. So, yeah. And then if you do decide that you're going to write a book or you are going to start a holistic wellness company, what I would recommend is let that come to you with ease. Because watch what happens when you let go of the need for it or telling yourself, I need it to prove something, and you just let go of that and you put what you are here to do out into the world and you put that intention into the world, watch, it's going to be easy. Someone's going to come up to you and say, hey, you're going to meet someone there. I want to start this wellness company. What do you think of this? We've already got the business plan. We need someone that's good at implementing this. And God, you've been really good at that from based on your corporate job. Like you could integrate into this really well. And all of a sudden it is going to come with much more ease. So we just don't want to like fight it. That's the thing. We don't want to fight it. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have obstacles with our soul missions, but if something feels like a fight, it's probably time to look at it and maybe let go, let that energy sit for a while, let yourself let go of that, because we never really create through fighting. It doesn't work. That's like a life concept, right? Okay, awesome. So we just launched this It is my abundance reset. This is a mini course. So if you are someone who, let's say you've been liking this, you've been listening to the podcast, maybe you've been coming to this calls, you like this work and you know you want more of it, but maybe you weren't quite ready to invest in the full money manifestation movement coaching program. That's my signature 6-month program where I actually coach you. If you are wanting to kind of just get your feet wet and get started and get your brain starting to focus on more abundance and starting to create a vision for yourself and starting to learn, how do I reprogram my brain around money? This is a beautiful place to start. So it's called the Abundance Reset, and it is a 5-day mini course, and it is in the form of a private podcast. So you are going to get a new episode dropped every single day. And it's going to be something that is actually you're going to learn from it and then you're going to take action from it. So you'll get a 5-day workbook as well. And you'll do one worksheet assignment, one journaling prompt every day. And my intention for this was to create something where you could have a shift from the scarcity into abundance within a 5-day period. So it's a mini course. It's a real quick shift. And I just know you're going to absolutely love it. It's something also you can come back to over and over. Anytime you need a reset, you listen to these teachings and they will just absorb into your brain and really help you shift your energy. So anyways, I'm super excited about that. It's the 5-day abundance reset. And I think you will absolutely love it. I'm so excited to be offering it. So that's for all of you who want more of this goodness. And all right, y'all, that's what we got for today. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for your beautiful questions. I'm sending you lots of love. Bye, everyone. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.